If you work in healthcare and you're burnt out, you're stuck doing this job that you hate, you probably are stuck between a few options. You can stay, keep grinding until it breaks you, and then just wait to retire. Or you can throw everything away that you've built so far and start over from scratch, go back to school, get a certification, figure out some other career that is not as soul sucking. But there's a third option that most people in your shoes never consider. It's called getting into healthcare analytics. And it might be the smartest pivot you can make because it runs on the one thing you've already created that everyone else takes years to build that are trying to break in. I'm going to give you 4 reasons why it beats starting over, why your experience is far worth more here than you think, and why it's an adjacent step, not a leap into the unknown, and why the work is easier to sustain. And the biggest one, why now is the best time to ever make this jump. And if you've ever never seen yourself as a technical person, why this is also the time now. And I'm going to be straight about what you still need to build. So I'm not going to pretend that I was working on the floor or know what bedside is because I wasn't. I wasn't customer facing. I wasn't working directly with patients. But I've watched healthcare burnout up close for years through my friends. My wife is a case manager. She's a social worker, and I've seen her deal with the stress. So are close of friends of mine as well, mentally drained, emotionally wrung out, being the punching bag on the other end of the phone all day. I have friends who are pharmacy techs, pharmacists who were on retail, who left retail to go to operations, to go to PBM, just to survive it and improve their mental health. So I know the burnout is real, especially when you're patient facing. And I know the fear underneath it as well. The fear of being stuck, wondering if these are going to be your only options. Do I want to start over after years of accumulating all this knowledge in my career? So here's where I do know and have skin in the game is I've been in healthcare for over healthcare analytics specifically for over 15 years. Most of it was on the data side, sitting at where I'm currently now as a business analyst consultant at a top Fortune 500 healthcare company. I've reviewed resumes, I've sat on interview panels, I've ran technical interviews. So what I'm sharing is not theory, it's something that I've seen work, and I've seen case studies of friends and coworkers do the same. And then now I'm also helping healthcare workers use AI to break into healthcare analytics. So let's jump into reason one. Your experience is worth more than you think. The trap is believing a pivot means that your years in healthcare count for nothing the moment that you're going to leave the floor. That belief is wrong. Not because you're naive for holding it, because nobody ever told you that experience is worth a lot, just in a different seat, in a different perspective, in different positioning. You know how healthcare runs. You know the workflows, you know the business processes, you know also how things break. You know what a prior auth is. Maybe you've worked in customer service. You know what a denial is. You know why a member calls in furious. And then you know HEDIS, you know where the business process is, and you know the metrics and why they're tracking what they're tracking. That's domain knowledge. And in analytics, domain knowledge is one of the most expensive parts of gaining right away because a lot of people who are trying to move from different industries have to either have the analytics experience or they have to figure out how to get the healthcare experience on top of that. You're starting with an edge because you already have the healthcare experience. So here's what I've also seen from the hiring side is that you can teach someone SQL, you can teach them to build a dashboard, use code. You can't quickly teach someone to understand the nuances of the business. And then over and over, the person, the candidate who were able to speak to healthcare, who were also internal in across what I've noticed across industries and my own experience is they're more trusted in general than the outside person who's trying to break in because they have the domain experience and it's easier to break in when you're already internal. Or if you're breaking in from healthcare, even if you're in a different role. So you're not starting from zero, you're starting from the inside. Reason two, it's an adjacent move. It's not going to be this leap into the unknown where you have to start over from scratch. So strip off the jargon and like the fancy names for healthcare analytics. And here's what it is. You're using data just to answer questions that the business is already asking and that they want to solve. Why are denials climbing? Why do these patients cost us more money? Why are these business processes so complex, how can we improve them? Which members are slipping through the gaps in their care? Where can we improve our quality of care for these members so that it improves the business and the revenue that we get and the incentives that we get from the health plans? Where is the money leaking? Those are the exact problems you've been living inside. You've just been experiencing them from a different lens. Now you move towards the analytics side. Now you get to see it through more of the data. Instead of just one patient at a time or one phone call at a time, you'll be able to see it as a whole subset. And the best pivots are almost always going to be the adjacent ones. You're not leaping across a canyon because you have this deficit of skills. You're able to leverage those skills. Now you're just stepping sideways into the next room, the same building, a better seat. And if you're internal and there's opportunities, it'll be in an easier internal pivot. You just need to learn the technical skills, which we'll talk about soon. Reason three is the work is easier to sustain. And I know this from talking to friends who've made the leap, especially from, I work with a lot of pharmacists currently, especially pharmacists who went from retail to going into the PBM side, the operation side. PBM is just pharmacy benefit management. And think about it as the pharmacy benefit specialty side of your health plan insurance that manages all the pharmacy benefits. So I'll be straight is that the burnout doesn't vanish the day that you switch. It's just the different kinds of tired changes, if that makes sense. Because what you're experiencing now and what I've noticed is that when you're burnt out of working, being customer facing, being client facing, being patient facing, when you get to work with data, you don't have to work with clients. Well, depending on what department you're going into, but you can choose to not be patient and client facing because most of the time when I talk to a lot of different people, it's the customer service aspect that drains them emotionally. You're absorbing other people's worst days all day, especially if you're on the phone. And for those people who've ever done customer service, I've done telemarketing, so I know how rough people can be on the phone, and it's all day, every day. And you're just getting the worst out of people, or you can get the worst sides of them. And analytics is going to be a different animal. It's going to be a puzzle. There's going to be things that do frustrate you, but it's not going to be a person who attacks you personally and breaks down your heart at like a core deep level when you know what it's like when you're getting attacked and you're like, don't shoot me, I'm just the messenger. For a lot of people I know who made the jump, that trait alone was worth it just to be able to work with professional coworkers that and don't have to worry about the client patient side of it anymore. Now, here's the honest part. Adjacent doesn't mean automatic. You still have to do some work. You have to build real technical skills. Excel past the basics. Now you have to learn SQL so you can pull the data and analyze it yourself. Dashboards and reporting, depending on which role and if it needs it. And then if you go into a more technical, maybe Python, depending on what the role needs, could be R. A few deep projects can show you that you can do the work as long as it's at a work ready level and shows that you already are familiar with the data and that you belong here. Now, this is going to bring me to reason four and the most important one. It's the one that hits the hardest for because part of you is already thinking, I'm not a technical person. And I hear that constantly. And here's the truth. Now is the best time than it's ever been to become technical. And it's the exact same reason that scares everyone. It's going to be AI. And I'm gonna be honest with you, AI scared me too. And I sat there genuinely worried that it was coming for my job and that people were going to become more technical because of AI. Because when I used it, I was like, things that it took me to code, things that it took me to build, design, and understand, it could do it in hours. Things that would take me a week, things that would take me a long time to build, I can do it at a fraction of that time now. And it's making me significantly faster in things that I didn't think I was technical with previously. And just to hone in on technical, I never thought I'd be technical. I fell into healthcare analytics, eventually became one of the most technical people on the team, but I never liked coding. I didn't think in college I was the furthest thing from being technical. So if I could do it and I could be a person who loved data and coding and building, and I didn't know that I loved it, you should give it a try to just see if this is something that you want to go into, especially if you're burnt out currently. The more that I built with AI, the more that the fear flipped because AI didn't replace me. It made me stronger. It made more opportunities for me. It also handed me a tutor that never got tired and never makes me feel stupid for asking questions or feels like it doesn't have time for me, or it's always there being able to compound my growth and my learning. So it helps me do a lot with my technical skills now. And then it can walk you through the build and teach you. It can help you practice the interview at midnight. The wall that used to take months and years to break in and become more technical, it shrinks down in a fraction of that time because you have AI now. AI, you can, once you get better at it, you can have AI do a lot of the execution and you're doing more of the directing. But in the very beginning, AI is going to be your mentor and it's going to be what you need to learn to get to the baseline technical level to make AI a superpower for you. So, yes, AI is scary, but it's also one of the biggest doors and opportunities I've seen for non technical people in my entire career at any time. And learning to work with it now is one thing that makes you harder to replace later as AI evolves. And being inside data, when we're going to get more opportunities and more data, you'll have more opportunities to use AI and to progress further in your career. So the fear and the opportunity are the same coin. You just have to decide which side you want to act on. And if that lands and you don't know where to start or what to learn first, that's exactly what we work inside the Healthcare Analyst Lab. It's where I help people figure out how to break into healthcare analytics and why they're not getting any responses inside their job search currently and how to map out their current plan. So there's a 7-day free trial, so you could look around, try it out for free, see if it's something that works for you. And link is in the description below. Query responsibly, and I'll see you in the next video. Click on it now.